Hello and welcome to the All Blacks edition, episode 15, the Rugby Championship Squad, brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby opinion and predictions. And joining me this evening, the one, the only, the ever-present member of the team, it is Ashwin. How you doing, sir? Oops, they can't see you yet, but never mind.
Oh, you can't see me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, we can see you now. That's all good.
Can you hear me now? Yes. I'm good.
Cheers, sir. You're on the States?
Yeah,
I'm on Monteith.
Cheers, yeah.
There we go. So
I'm just on cheap stuff because I'm a cheap Indian.
We don't like racial stereotypes on this show. Thank you very much, sir. Very doing me.
It's okay, I'm brown.
I'm brown, so I can't be racist. Is that the old...
Exactly. Hello.
You're going down the old Borat thing. I is black.
I is black. Is it because I is black?
It's like, hang on a second. You're a white guy. How can you be saying that? Anyway.
Yeah, I hear that many times.
Put on a shell suit and you can do it. Get away with whatever you feel like. So, good evening, Jack and Andre, who are in the live chat. Please do ask any All Blacks related questions. We love to have the interaction with those who are watching live. If you're listening on the old podcast, then you can always drop us a message on Twitter or Facebook pages, or even actually in YouTube in the comments below one of the videos, and we'll include those in the following show. So, if you want to get in touch, for those of you on the podcast, please feel free to do so. It'd be much appreciated. Those 5-star reviews haven't really been flooding in recently, but one of those would also be very nice as well. So, yep, that's all on the podcast side of things. So today we're going to be talking about the All Blacks squad, and we are also going to have a quick chat about Mr. Pulu, who has decided to jump the ditch across to Australia, and whilst he's done that, he's also managed to upset most of the Pacific Island nations. So, where should we start? Let's start with the All Blacks squad. What was your plan? Run through this from top to bottom?
I guess so. Is that logical?
So top to bottom, according to the allblacks.com news site, is... So let's start with the hookers then, as usual. Dane Coles, Nathan Harris, Cody Taylor in there?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things I've got as a sort of around that discussion point is around the hookers. Effectively, you got obviously Dane Coles, who's been injured for basically he has been injured for the whole season. You've got Cody Taylor, who's the number one hooker. Dane Coles, we'll wait to see whether he comes back and how he comes back. But basically, you got Coles and Taylor, and then you got Daylight. I suppose Liam Coltman's there, but I don't think he's stamped his mark in any particular way. Nathan Harris as well. I'm not convinced on the Nathan Harris front. I think there's quite a bit of a gap between your Coles, Taylor, and then down to number 3.
Yeah, you say Liam Coltram's there because I was injury cover for Dane Coles. Yeah, it's not like we haven't known he's injured for a while. And there's obviously this injury and whole physio thing is an absolute science down to the hour, because Dane Coles is expected to return to Test match rugby sometime during the Investec Rugby Championship. Right, okay, that's nice and precise.
At the 46th minute with 10 seconds gone at Eden Park, Dane Coles will make his return to All Black Rugby.
Eden Park? Oh, that early in the Rugby Championship?
No. I don't know. I was going along the precision lines. But look, it has to be a bit of a concern for the selectors, and the fact that after Taylor, if you haven't got Coles around, let's say Coles come back, goes pear-shaped for whatever reason, you got Taylor, and then your other backups, even, as I said, Nathan Harris, isn't at the Coles or even Taylor level, is he?
No, he's not. And it's not like he's some mega young buck who's coming in and is going to learn lots. He's already 26, which is kind of just 1 year beneath Cody Taylor. So, yeah, it's not like it's not like there's a big queue of or depth of talent. But apparently, whenever I talk to anyone about players going overseas, it's not a problem. We have this conveyor belt of these guys, but it doesn't. But not in the hooker position by the looks of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like you do look and you go, where are the hookers? Um,
They're all in Hamilton on Mad Monday.
where is the guy in the middle of the front row? But yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of a gap in terms of hookers coming through, and yeah, got to be a concern.
Yep.
Not much
If we're
more
going to
to
get
say.
through this, if we're not going to do another 2 hour show, we better move on a bit quicker than we have done normally.
Yeah.
So some of you might be wondering, why are we doing this on a Thursday night? Well, I've been working late, so work's got in the way of things, which meant I actually went straight to bed after when I got home from work. So please, here's my dinner: the food of champions, Doritos. So sorry for the noise as I open those.
And now you're making me hungry.
So Doritos, Monteiths, or Spates, or any of them fancy sponsoring us, please feel free. Do get in touch. expatdadsg@gmail.com is the email. Loving your work. So, move on to the props. I don't think there's any real big surprises here. Franks, Moody, Perry from the Crusaders, being joined by Big Carl from the Chiefs and Ofanga Tuifasi from the Blues.
Yes, there are no surprises. I think the front row in terms of outside of hooker is where we have got some depth, because there's actually quite a few on the injury bench, so to speak, still. So, there's no issues there. I think that's pretty much going back to the old June internationals.
Yep. And obviously, Carl's moving up to the Blues next season. So, Crusaders and Blues, the two powerhouses of Super Rugby dominating the propping positions.
Well, we're propping up both ends of the table there, so well, it works. What was that, Paul? Sorry, what was that?
That was crunch. These Doritos are fantastic. Anyway, into the locks. Don't think there's much to say about the props.
Not much we can say about the locks. Pretty much pick themselves as well.
Well, the three that are pick themselves in Scott Barrett, Brody Retallick, Sam Whitelock.
Yep.
No arguments that those guys should be there.
Yep.
But this is where we come down to balance of the squad, in my mind.
Yes.
And perhaps also something about how the game is evolving. But I think 3 locks isn't enough in a squad. You pick 3 locks per game, which means none of these guys, in theory, none of these guys are going to get a rest. That's not arrested. That's a rest from playing. So to me, I think I want at least 4 locks in my squad, because I want to rotate them and rest them, because someone like Scott Barrett has played a lot of rugby, as has Sam Whitelock and Brody Retallick. Brody Retallick's been off. I think had some injuries this season. He's had a little bit of rest. So to me, I would suggest that we definitely need a 4th lock in there in the squad. I'm not comfortable with that.
Obviously looking as Jackson Hemipo as being the there's also a backup lock there, blindside cover option for them within the squad. Yeah, sort of like I don't know why they need to stack their back row so much. It's quite an interesting thing that they've been doing recently. And you can say they did that in the old June internationals as well.
Yeah, so it's a trend that's happened with the All Blacks is they seem to like to play their number 6 as the basic spare lock. So you've also got Hemipo in the squad this time. Previously, Fafita has played in the row, and also Zalusi. And going back further than that, even Kano has played in the locks, for example, in Chicago against Ireland.
Even in the World Cup.
But yeah, I was deliberately choosing the Ireland game in Chicago because that's again the All Blacks lost by not having first, but not really first choice, but not having 2 locks who actually do that as their day job. They definitely would go to jack of all trades in there rather than actually locks. So to me, I'm not comfortable with that idea of playing somebody like Fafita or Hemipo in there. I think they need to really be more specialised and have specialised locks rather than these jack of all trades who are there. Again, Kano, Fafita, Hemipo, nothing against them as players, but it's about playing players out of position that I'm not comfortable with personally. And Jack's mentioned that maybe Luke Romano will be called up if we get injuries. Luke Romano's been struggling to get on the bench for the Crusaders. Have been fighting out for that bench space. He really has dropped back down the pecking order this year, I think.
It's an interesting thing that you sort of, you mention along those lines, and some of these guys being obviously very loyal to the Crusaders, and the fact is, and it's not really helping their All Blacks aspirations. You can even go back as far as the old, digressing here a bit, but your Tom Taylors, your Tyler Blendales and the like, who were very good players, that basically because they just didn't want to play anywhere else but the Crusaders, they've actually gone overseas, and it's just like you end up scratching your head thinking, well, how much do people value the black jersey then?
Is the red and black jersey more important than the black jersey?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes, there you go. Anyway, digressing.
So I think, again, I don't agree with Hansen's balance the squad this time round. I think it needs to have another, I still think it needs to have another lock. If we look through the rest of it, we've got 3 halfbacks, 3 first 5/8, 4 midfielders, 5 outside backs. So amongst the backs, it's much more balanced than it was before. We had too many centres last time, or too many midfielders. So he's evened that thing up. But in the forwards, whilst he's evened up and brought in an extra hooker, which is good, we're still light on locks. And when we look at the loose forwards, we've got 7 loose forwards for 4 positions in the matchday squad. So they can be rotated around. And quickly running through those players, Sam Cane, Sam Cane, Reid, Liam Squire, your first choice combination, so no surprise they're there. Ardi Sevilla comes through and has had some injury issues recently. Luke Whitelock, with just 5 caps to his name, has clearly managed to cement himself as being that number 2 and number 8, or the backup number 8 to Kieran Reid. And then finally we've got the Frizzell and Hemapo from the Highlanders, the 2 sort of shock picks during the June International. Obviously did enough in camp to be invited back again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose there's one of the issues that we'll talk about later is players that have missed out, and there's a few in the in that loose forwards mix that have missed out that we can cover off a bit later. But reality is that sort of it's pretty consistent with the June window.
But as we're talking loose forwards, players that missed out. I mean, obviously, players that aren't there. Ardi Sven, he's there. I've gone absolutely blank.
Kira
Ioane, there we go.
And Matt, the 2 are Kira Ioane and Matt Todd. That really, be in the mix in terms of in there. Obviously, Matt Todd's never been a favourite for the All Black selectors for some reason. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because
I also sorry for Via in there as well.
Yes, Via Fafita. Absolutely sorry. Absolutely. You'd have to question what has he done wrong. But in saying that, I think if you can correct me if I'm wrong, he's been coming off the bench for the Hurricanes, which probably hasn't helped him. But then you got someone like Shannon Frizzell, who basically played hardly any time for the Highlanders, yet made it into the June team. So yeah, that's head scratcher in terms of the fact that Via Fafita, who was, made such a strong push last year, is sort of fallen away from favour.
He has. He's been told to go off and play Mitre 10 Cup and get his form back. So we might see him get selected later in the championship. Let's see what happens there. Jack makes a good point that Todd has gone off to Japan, and it's no surprise there as he, let's be honest, he deserves the extra payday.
But he's gone off to Japan because he knows he's not going to be selected in the All Blacks. If he's going to be selected in the All Blacks, he's not going to go off to Japan.
True. Yep.
So So okay, I'm not going to play Mitre 10 Cup and get paid 10 grand. I'll go to Japan and get paid 100 grand.
And it's shown that actually, Corey James was the first one to do this, to be allowed to skip Mitre 10 Cup and still come back for Super Rugby. It shows that whilst New Zealand Rugby don't want to talk about it, clearly flexible contracts are now available to players who have earned or put in the years. Because Corey James done it, Israel Dagg's doing it this year, Matt Todd's doing it this year. We're not talking about guys who have played one season for Super Rugby and then get to skip the Mitre 10 Cup piece. We're talking about guys who have dedicated their entire career, pretty much, to the New Zealand domestic scene and get 1 or 2 seasons at the end of their career to get a bit of extra cash over in Japan.
But in saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of became, even for players that haven't done the hard yards at domestic level, that it starts happening. Super Rugby, yep, they're signed up, they're playing Super Rugby for a New Zealand franchise, and then at Mitre 10 Cup time, they've actually flown the coop off to Japan to get 3 months of rugby in there and make some coin before they have to come back for Super Rugby.
Yeah, we'll have to see how as to how that works out, whether it does become. It's something that South Africa and Australia have been doing for years.
It saves the NZRFU money, doesn't it? Because it's like, well, hang on, they're not having to pay out for the 6 months that they've gone to Japan, or 3 months, whatever it is. And the players are happy because they're earning some good coin in Japan, but they're still available for the premier domestic competition.
They are, but the reason we have the depth is because the Mitre 10 Cup is competitive. The more of the veterans that you take out of there, the less competitive it gets. We've already seen in Auckland, one of the complaints we have around Auckland is that players are getting selected for the Auckland Mitre 10 Cup team straight out of school. They're not having to go through the club competition and put the yards in first and earn that Mitre 10 Cup contract and place. And if we're not careful, we're going to end up with something similar happening here, where players try and come out of the under-20s, skip the Mitre 10 Cup and go straight into Super Rugby. And I think that's not good for their development.
No, not at all.
As well. So, as you say, nice little diversion, but I can't see. Yeah, I can't see it. So yes, some serious players there missing out on the Lucy's side, and we've already said that actually there's too many Lucy's picked. We think there should be one less. Personally, we should have 6 of them, not 7.
Yeah, look, out of all of that, in terms of the Lucy's that majorly concerned will be Akira Ioane, because we talked about this with the June Internationals. He's really got to be concerned about whether he's ever going to wear a black jersey. And start looking, one of the topics from last week, and sort of we'll allude to it later with Tony Pulo as well, is like, does he start looking at Japan?
Or France? Has he? Well,
no, not France.
Akira Ioane has been capped by New Zealand at sevens a lot, so I can't see them. I'll talk about Pulu, but I can't see him being the same rules being allowed there. But we'll see.
Yep. Actually, I mean, like, the other option for Akira Ioane is that does he start focusing? Hey, look, let's go play sevens.
There's no money in sevens.
Even with an All Blacks contract?
Well, it depends. Would he get an All Blacks contract? That's what I'm just trying to say.
Oh, he'd get an All Black. He'd walk into an All Black Sevens contract.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Is there any money in an All Black Sevens contract? I'd assume that there's some decent money there. They'd probably offer him something good. You'd expect.
It's not big bucks like it's less than Super Rugby. You remember, in Australia they've got pay parity between the men's and women's sevens team, which gives you an idea that actually the men's sevens is not earning big money. So moving on to the backs, we say amongst forwards, basically from a balance point of view, we think they've got one extra Lucy really than they probably should have. And they should have one extra lock. In the backs, the balance looks about right with 3 half-backs, 3 first 5/8s, 4 midfielders, and 5 outside backs. Maybe you don't quite need 5 outside backs when you've got players like Bowden Barrett and Damon McKenzie that can play in there. But overall, the balance is about right.
Yeah, pretty much. You're not going to have. I mean, like we'll discuss a few selection issues, or not issues, but play one player over another. But effectively, there's no surprises there. I don't think.
You're right. It is down to one player over another. In the half, so let's start with the halfbacks. Aaron Smith, TG Perenora, basically picked themselves, and they have done for the past 8 years.
Yep.
Maybe not quite that long. Perhaps the past 4 years. Looking at how old TJ is. And then that third scrum half, which has been obviously since Keabalu has headed overseas, we've kind of been questioning who is that going to be, and Tauranga.
Well, you'd have to say the form halfback in that number 3 position has been Brad Weber. He's been hot.
cooking on a Weber. And any barbecue companies, can't think of who they might be, would like to sponsor us, then please feel free to get in touch. We could do these chats around the barbecue with a beer in our hands. Absolutely, be perfect. Mitre 10. We could also build a shed in the background. Hey?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
So Triple T's in there, ahead of Weber, and yet he's behind Weber when it comes to the Super Rugby stage.
And you can see quite easily that Weber's been the form halfback at the Chiefs in that second half of the season. He's actually been playing very well. And when Triple T's come on, you can't say that the Chiefs have actually gone up a gear. In fact, you'd say that they were probably travelling a little bit better when Weber was on the field.
Yep, and I think this is not a pick for this season.
Yep.
This is a pick for the future. Triple T didn't pick up any caps during the June tests, and you thought he would have picked up been on the bench that third test.
2 minutes.
Get a couple of minutes because, hey, it's a dead rubber.
Yep.
So I can't see his chances either against Argentina or the third Bledisloe or Japan are likely to be the next ones that he's in there for.
Yep, absolutely.
This is a long-term pick, and I'd expect Triple T basically to be in the All Black squad for the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in response to, I think it was Jack that's made a comment around Bryn Hall. Bryn Hall looks good behind a Rolls Royce pack. We know what he's like when he's not behind a Rolls Royce pack. We've seen that. And
who would he have been playing for then? For those who don't realise, Bryn Hall used to play for the Blues before moving down to the Crusaders.
For many a season, actually.
Now you've got basically We've got Hall at the Crusaders, Pulu at the captain of the Blues, also has been capped by the All Blacks, is a Sevens All Black as well. There's potential competition, but yeah, it doesn't look. You're not really looking at those guys and expecting them to get picked. But Webber, I think, it does kind of feel hard done by.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he doesn't get picked before the Rugby World Cup, I expect Webber to go overseas after the Rugby World Cup.
Well, far away now, is it? Actually, that's coming up on us pretty quickly. The old 2019 World Cup.
Yep, exactly. Running through the first 5/8, then Bowden Barrett, Damon McKenzie, and everyone will be absolutely over the moon on Twitter because Rich Mwanga has managed to get himself in there as well.
Well, he was there in the June internationals, wasn't he? Wasn't he in that squad?
He came in for injury cover.
He came in for injury cover? Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. I think he's going to get some game time. It'll just be a case of which game. Basically when, where and who against, basically, that he'll come in. But I think he'll get a start. You know, sort of like Sipawanga, his debut was at Ellis Park. But I'm sort of thinking they might play Moanga against someone like Argentina. Down in Nelson.
If they do, then I think he'll come off the bench. They've been very clear that Bowden Barrett, World Player of the Year twice, his first choice, funnily enough. And they've been very clear that Damon McKenzie is their backup.
Yes. They haven't really been wavering on it, but you never know.
Sorry?
I'm just saying they haven't been wavering on it, but you never know.
No, they haven't been wavering on it. Damon McKenzie, that's definitely their plan heading into the Rugby World Cup, is Barrett with McKenzie on the bench. And Barrett and Damien McKenzie has looked a lot better in the second half of the season for the Chiefs. A lot of people still think that he isn't a 10 and he's a 15. But as I say, he's played all his rugby during his age grade groups at 10, and I fully expect him to continue there for at least and probably to take for the next couple of years at least.
It's interesting with Moanga. Like you start him on the bench, but you got Damien McKenzie who can basically play three positions off the bench, or you've got Moanga who can play one position off the bench. In saying that, you've got Bowden Barrett on the field who could then obviously shuffle around into a couple of positions. So,
Yep. So yeah, do we think Moanga should be on the bench? No. I think David McKenzie should be. And again, Moanga's playing behind a Rolls-Royce pack. He is making the right decisions, which is what's important. He is a very good player, but still, I think that's yeah, he does get an armchair ride as well. So you got to remember that. And it's also with the selection of Frizzell, especially, it shows that it's not just about Super Rugby form either. That the All Blacks making their choices on, or Triple T for that example. There are players who are getting picked for other reasons that we can't see that the coaches do in training.
Yeah, exactly. The coaches are seeing something in these players that they feel are going to bring to the game plan or the squad. That they're basically seeing and want in their team.
So on to midfielders. Crotty, Sonny Bill Williams, starting combination. No big surprise there. Jack Goodhue been ripping things up for the Crusaders this season. Just got the one cap. But to say, having had a great season for the Crusaders, it's obviously him in combination with Crotty is also a good one. Now again, we can say he gets front foot ball at the Crusaders. Yes, he does. But when there have been injuries and players gone off, and let's be honest, the Crusaders have had injuries, he has stood up and been a leader for that team. And I've really noticed that side of his play more than necessarily any sort of skills has really improved this year. And then Anton Leonard-Brown is in there. So those are your four picks. As I say, the right number, but are they the right players?
Well, I suppose the people are going to have that debate, and especially the ones that hate SPW are going to be saying, "Oh, Laumapi should be there ahead of him." But the reality is that Sonny Bill Williams brings a lot more in terms of what he delivers in terms of a game than Laumapi does. In saying that, Laumapi really hasn't had a bad game in a black jersey.
And Laumapi, is growing his game as well. But he's there as injury cover for Sonny Bill Williams, who's recovering from his shoulder. So clearly he's still in the thoughts. Whereas someone like Tarangi Waldron down in the Highlanders, a lot of people have been saying he's actually been the form Super Rugby centre this season, and he's not even getting a mention.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you come back to it. It's the selectors obviously seeing something in the players, and that's more than just the form on the field. That can add to the game plan that they have in mind. And you so they've got to be looking at Walden. As I say, he's been doing very well for the Highlanders, but there's something that they see that the other players bring to the game plan that he won't deliver.
I mean, Walden or Thompson? I think it's Thompson, aren't they?
Rob Thompson.
No, okay, no. So there's someone down the Highlanders, but he was injured last season. He's only done it for one season. He's put it in for more than that. He's still a young guy, so that's not a surprise. Obviously, Vince Arso.
Now Thompson's getting a bit old now, anyway.
Yeah,
so it'd be Walden. Walden.
Proctor and Arso are both injured, but again. And those are the names that generally get dropped by or Proctor generally gets dropped by the All Black selectors. As next up, so it's a bit. Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that. The Andre reckons Laumapi can't pass the ball. Maybe not, but he always gets you front football, and I think he's growing his kicking and his passing game. Dave's definitely working on it. Anton Leonard-Brown, though, perhaps a little bit lucky. To be there, I think it's, as we've said, but he has improved during the season, but he's not had the kind of he's not had the game the season that he's had for this year.
No, he's fallen off a bit He's not providing the impact that he was either at the Chiefs or in the All Blacks. We saw that in the June window when he did play a game. Didn't look that crash hot. So he's probably out of the back line. He's probably lucky. You can say Sonny Bill's lucky because he hasn't had game time, but at the end of the day, they know that once he pulls a black jersey on, what he delivers, and he does deliver when he pulls a black jersey on.
Yeah, and he's been. There's a reason why he gets a New Zealand rugby contract, and it's to play. Yeah. It's to play for the All Blacks. It's not to mess around at the Blues.
What?
Or to it's also So Sonny Bill Williams, Blues / Counties Manukau. How many games has he played for Counties?
As many as Kieran Reid.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so going out the outside backs. On the wing, Rieko Ioane, Waisake Naholo, and Nay Milner-Skudder, and then Geordie Barrett and Ben Smith at fullback. So, all top-notch quality players in there.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't really, not too many question marks around there. I think Geordie's been a bit flat for the Hurricanes around that June window and after. But in saying that, I think we know his capabilities, and I'm sure he'll be back up and running not too far, in terms of top form, not too far away.
Obviously, Bridge has been playing fantastically. Ben Lamb was one of the top try scorers in the competition, but I don't think they were ever seriously in the conversation, were they?
Not really. No, I mean, George Bridge is probably the unlucky one in that sense. He is someone that's industrious. He's not someone that just stands around and doesn't do anything. There was, some people thought his defence might have been questionable, but I think we've seen in the after the June internationals playing for the Crusaders that he's pulled up some great tackles, and pressure defence moves as well, not just the tackle as well, but actually attacking the ball. So I think he's a bit unlucky, but at the end of the day, it's a question of who misses out. Is it going to be a Milner-Skudder? But I think what we've talked about with the Milner-Skudder is that you want to have him in there in the mix because he's a different type of back, and you want to have some variety in there.
And Havali's perhaps the other one that's perhaps missing. Obviously with Dag heading off to Japan, he was never going to get selected, and he was aware of that.
Who's missing? Sorry,
Israel Dag.
Oh, Israel Dag. Yeah.
So Havali is perhaps the other player who might have been in the selectors' thoughts. I mean, he was injury cover last season, but yeah, looking at that list, does he get in ahead of Geordie Barrett or Ben Smith? No. Milner-Skudder is the only real one that's questionable. And here's a guy that went to the 2015 Rugby World Cup, so he as kind of in his first season, and yet only has 11 caps to his name. Rieko Ioane, who is 6 years younger than him, has 16 caps already, which just shows you that Milner-Skudder just can't keep himself fit, and so that's going to be the main question mark around him is he worth continuing holding back other players' development by not having them in the squad if he's going to be injured all the time and not actually really there when it comes to the crunch. So that's
at the end of the day, though. Here's the problem, right? Is that there's nobody that has the skill set that Milner-Skudder has, and that's that step. The able to beat the players in confined spaces. With body movement, swerve, step. Nobody else does it, and I think that's why they're persevering with him. He brings something different to the team.
Especially to Naholo, who he's competing with for that team.
Well, you look at. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that this would happen necessarily. But if you've got someone like a Milner-Skudder on the bench, and you start to get to the back end of a match when players are starting to get tired, and then you bring on someone who's fast and nippy and can step and beat players with a body swerve. It could be quite an asset.
Yep, absolutely. So, on the whole, I mean, not what you say. Slightly different problem with the balance in the forwards. Maybe one or two players here or there where it's a bit of a personal choice, but generally it's guys who are in the wider squad who probably aren't going to make matchday squad anyway. Otherwise, no surprises, and it's kind of, I think most people will agree with it.
Pretty much. Look, these days there just really isn't that much sort of angst over an All Black squad. You don't really get sort of like a going back. This is rolling back the years again. You would have heard this name, but like a Shane Philpott type moment is thinking, what the hell? How the hell did he make it to the All Blacks? Type scenario.
Well, I don't know. I think there's quite a lot of people who were having that similar sort of question. Like, how did Frizzell make the squad in June?
Well, in June, although in saying that, when he gets selected and people go, well, he hasn't played a lot, but because we get to see so much rugby and we get to see players so much more these days, people can see the qualities that he's got and can say, well, what's a head scratcher there is that, yeah, he looks like he's got the goods, but he's hop, skip, and jumped his way into the All Blacks quite quickly after like about 10 minutes off bench appearances.
Yep. So, yeah, you're right. It's a bit, there is people have seen him. So I guess, yeah, from that point of view, you're right. I just think he's still, compared to other players, he's jumped the queue. Quite
It'd be in scenarios like that, as we've alluded to, it's the players that start asking the questions, like your Kira Ioane and Vai Fafita. They'll be sort of thinking, well, okay, well, geez, where are we at? What's our future here in the black jersey?
Yep. So that's the squad.
God, I feel Doritos so badly.
We're going to go into the Rugby Championship, and don't forget.
For men, beautifully set up, try scored.
You can get your Bottlepop if you want. A link down below in YouTube. It's what is it? It's not just something that Paul sticks his finger in and it makes a noise. It actually opens a bottle of beer as well. So it's got all a bit of fun. Also, whilst we take this quick little ad break between sections, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, follow, share, retweet, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, we are across
download,
Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, so it's hard to say what action you should be taking. But anything that's you click on that's got kind of a smiley, likey, kind of hearty kind of thing, we'd much appreciate it. So please go ahead and do that. Obviously, there is that old school thing of talking to your friends and saying, "Hey, have you seen this DrivingMaul guy and his friends? He's pretty good." And so you could try that one as well. So one of the topics we talked about last week was dual qualification players and whether they should stay or whether they should go. And funnily enough, in the following week, we get news that Mr. Pulu is heading over to the Brumbies, which was kind of, I was like, why? Why would you leave the Chiefs to go to the Brumbies? You're not going to get paid much more. So it's not like you're going to France or Japan or England or wherever. So it was kind of like and our friend Steve, the guy behind Cornflakes Crib, very much said, yeah, there's another story behind this one. And a day later we found out what that story was, because Australia Rugby turned out and said, oh, well, this guy may have played for Nui in Sevens previously, but World Rugby have said, forget about that. He can play for the Wallabies.
Okay. So now, obviously, there's been a story in the Herald. Some people, their fantastic publication, the Royal New Zealand Herald, and Gregor Paul sort of commenting about another kick in the teeth for Issa Nathiwa, because he played 2 minutes for France for Fiji in a World Cup, and then tried to get that rescinded and couldn't, so he could play for the All Blacks and couldn't get it done. And now you've got Tony Pulu, who's come along, played for Niue, and had his time with Niue scrapped, so that he can pull on the canary yellow jersey for Australia.
Well, if we just want to go for a bit of a more recent example, we also have Spain, who have just been kicked out of, and Romania, who have just been kicked out of making it to the Rugby World Cup because, well, hey, they've got players, and one of them had a sevens cap. And I can't remember, I think it's Romania. I can't remember if it was Romania or Spain. One of them basically the whole country hasn't made its Rugby World Cup and has been kicked out because one of their players had played sevens for a tier 2 nation.
Yeah, so where I was going to go with that is that the difference in the Tony Pulu situation was that he was never eligible to play for Niue. So Niue actually got a fine for him playing for them in a tournament. And that is why they've actually scrubbed his appearances, because he was never eligible to play for them. So there is a slight different scenario, whereas you go back with the Isa Nathiwa scenario. He did have his parents were Fijian, or his mum or something was Fijian, so he was eligible for Fiji. He ran on and he made the appearance for Fiji. So that's the difference. And although it's a fine line, but I can see the reasoning there and how they've come up with that decision.
Yeah, especially you're saying, is this guy not allowed to play for anybody internationally because he's not allowed to play for the people he has been capped for? And does that then, and therefore, and because he's been capped for them, he's not allowed to play for anybody else. Ah, okay, that would be.
But actually, technically, employment law, that would be restraint of trade.
Except I think a lot of those don't actually apply to national teams. But anyway, so here's a guy who's 29. He's not got a lot of rugby left in him. Let's be honest.
Oh, harsh.
Well,
but fair.
One Rugby World Cup, maybe. If he's a bit late to be arriving becoming a debutant at international level at 29. Let's be honest, they're few and far between.
Yep.
Even Carl's younger than that. He quickly checks. Yeah, Big Carl's 25. There we go.
Oh, Big Carl. Yeah, right.
So, yeah, it's rare that you'd get a player this old debuting, making his debut at international level. It's kind of interesting.
In saying that, can I just jump in and say, when you've looked at All Black wingers, right, and they start selecting the newbies when the old fellas start to get the 27, 28, 29 mark, because they're not fast enough for a winger. But Tony Pulu, when you watch him playing for the Chief, he's still got gas. An old fella. He's smoking some of those young bucks, see?
It's only half your age.
Don't need to be like that.
So yeah, when you put those sort of details in place, you can see why he's been allowed to and why other players haven't. It is a unique case in that but I say there are a lot of people mentioning that situation in Europe, mentioning this is unfair on tier 2 nations. This is the power of a tier 1 nation getting their way in the council, and it's not. If you actually look at the facts, a lot of people haven't bothered to do that and have just jumped to conclusions, which is fantastically easy and great to do in 240 characters on Twitter.
Mate, look, nobody's looked at the facts. Nobody looks at facts in any form of life these days. Why would you want to spoil your own narrative when let real facts get in the way of a story?
Well, I hadn't actually seen these facts. I was about to pronounce all sorts of opinions on this situation, but there you go. I'm glad you found the facts out.
Well, it was interesting because I found the facts out in a story saying it was unfair, and it's just like, hang on, you've just printed a story about the fact that he was ineligible, and you're saying that it's not fair on Isa Nathiwa, and it's like, he was ineligible to play for the team that he played for, and you've raised a good point, is that if they hadn't have rescinded his Niue eligibility, he would have been basically a stateless individual. He would have had to got stuck in a cave in Thailand or something. I didn't follow too much news.
So, yeah, it became very apparent why he's gone to the Brumbies. It's to basically try and play for the Wallabies at the next Rugby World Cup at the end of the day. And good luck to him.
And I believe he is going to be selected in the Wallaby squad for this Rugby Championship.
No, he's not been included in the Rugby.
He's not,
unless they make a late change.
Injury replacement.
You can see it coming, can't you, already?
Absolutely. You heard it here first.
Jack was like, I've announced my squad. What do you mean I've got another player I'm allowed? Really? Where did he come from?
Well, wasn't Checker keeping a place open for somebody else? It wasn't for Polu. There was somebody else that he was keeping a place open for. Metuma.
Yep, coming back from England.
Has he been? And he's been selected, hasn't he? Or
yes, I think there's a few fun games going on there. Also around they having to return to England for pre-season training camps between games.
Oh, okay, that's good for the team.
Well, that's not really good for the player, is it? So basically, you've got to release a player a week before an international game during the windows. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that the Rugby Championship works is you play 2 games back to back, you have a week off or weekend off, and then you play 2 more back to back. So in that weekend off, the players don't have to be with their international team. They can fly. They've got like 5 to 7 days there where they have to basically fly back to Europe for pre-season training before flying back out to play for the Wallabies.
Yeah, but let's face it, he's going to be sitting in business class seeing how many VBs he can down on the way back to London.
That's cricket. Oh dear me! No, you're skipping sports now. And planes are fast nowadays. I'm sure you can't quite get as many down you. So that's the kind of one of the other side stories that came out of this one is that the Pacific Players Association said that as long as there are less, or the Pacific Islands don't get seats on the board of World Rugby, these pro Tier 1 decisions will keep getting made. Now, we've already said that it's not a pro Tier 1 decision. It's a decision because a guy can't play for any other country. So first off, that's not true.
Yeah, and look, the problem is that when they start doing that and talk about the inequities in Tier 1, Tier 2, their story gets watered down when they use examples which aren't good examples like this. And it's just like, instead of being listened to, it's like, well, hang on. No, this was a situation that had to be sorted. It wasn't the fact that a Tier 1 organisation is having their way again with a Tier 2 player. So you don't use that as an example because it ruins your argument.
Yeah, and they've been doing that quite a lot recently because Charles Piertow is the other one that has been the kind of poster child of this. And it's like, Charles, all you have to do is take some time off and go and play one sevens game for Tonga.
Yeah, and if he really wants to, he can do that.
Yep. Yeah.
How much does he really want to if it's becoming such a hard struggle to do it?
So, yeah, clearly he's not actually that fussed, to be honest. Nah. It's good publicity for him. But, yeah, he doesn't take the loss of money to pop off and play. And as the highest paid rugby player in the world, he can afford it. It's not like some of the other players who are... Forget the fact that he can
afford it. Forget the fact that he can afford it. If he's the highest paid rugby player in the world, he's got negotiating power to be able to go to the club and saying, if you want me to stick around here, you better release me to go play in these Tonga games. And keep paying me, by the way. If they're throwing that much money at them for one weekend or for one round, they're not going to say no to him if he's going to be walking from the club if they don't let him do it.
Yeah, and that's right. If it was for Samoa or Fiji, who were in the HSBC World Sevens, he'd have to play 4 tournaments. Because Tonga aren't in the HSBC World Sevens, he would only have to play 1 tournament. And so, yeah, he's another bad example.
It is 1?
Sorry?
It is 1? I heard it was 2.
I heard recently it was 1 if you're not in the World Tour. It was 4 if you were. But I could be...
but look,
it's either way. It's not a lot of effort. He can do it, and he can get transferred. The other point they made was they need more Pacific Island seats on the World Council. Now, is the qualification for seats to the World Council fair? No, it's not. All right. So by being in the Six Nations or the Rugby Championship, you're entitled to more seats than if you're not. But one of the base requirements to be allowed to get seats on the council is you have to have audited accounts of your for your union. And there's a good reason for this. Is because if you don't have audited accounts, there's a good sign, there's a good idea, a good sign there that there's a whole bunch of corruption going on, and you don't know where your money's going.
Not only that, there's also the opportunity of, how can you say this? Favourable voting being done for payments made.
So one, and I can't remember if it's 5 years or 3 years worth of auditors' accounts you need, but you have to have auditors' accounts. Now, for people who are saying, "Oh, but all this corruption stuff is from a few years ago now," the answer is no. We have some players within the last 2 months who have been complaining about not getting paid for games that they've played for the Pacific Island countries. So whilst I understand and I think greater representation and greater support of the Pacific Islands is required, we have to be very careful about giving out governance seats to organisations and to people. And this is not the players we're talking about here. We're talking about the administration people. So I've got no problems with the players. My problem's more around the administration. And we don't want to be giving world governance seats to people who are potentially corrupt, basically.
Yep. Or to be nice rather than say corrupt, because the fact is that just have poor governance models.
Yeah, I mean, when you have stories of players turning up and then committee members walking in and taking away their training kit for their friends and family.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's poor governance.
Pretty poor governance model. Yeah, couldn't say that's a good governance model.
So yes, also I say yes, Pacific Islands needs more support. Yes, they need more representation. But first off, but we've got to be careful that that representation isn't corrupt. Cool. Are we there?
I think we are.
Another successful All Blacks edition, sir.
Absolutely. It's just like you feel like you're in a holding pattern, waiting for something to happen now, aren't you? Really? It's like
what, like the next show?
Yeah, the next show. Exactly.
What am I going to do with my life between now and Tuesday? Because that's when the next show is. 8 p.m. Tuesday, we have the Rugby chat. So yes, my life is in a holding pattern now between now and next Tuesday, because obviously there is no preview show to do, and there is no review show to do.
And just to let the people know out there, fantastic news is the fact is that if you like me, you like to know that I'll probably be able to attend Paul's Tuesday shows, because the junior cricket committee at Eden Roskell Cricket Club is going to meet on a Monday. If you don't like me, that's bad news.
Now, if you want to support us financially, you can do it through Patreon, hence and help pay for things like these microphones. Hence, I've got a nice microphone and Ashwin hasn't. Yes, if you'd like to support us do that, we can help Ashwin buy a nice microphone and potentially help Herman get one as well.
Yeah.
Then maybe sign up to Patreon. I have been asked to give my opinions of the World Rugby research into the number of rugby fans in different parts of the world. So I will be doing a Patreon's only show within the next week about that research that's been done for World Rugby. So if you want to have a watch and see my thoughts on that, then please become a Patreon. You can do that for as little as $1 a month. So thank you very much, sir. Good night.
No worries. Yes, I will do. I'll go get some sleep. I've had a couple of long nights.
Twitter handles down there. Like, comment. Always got good old rugby chats. So do on all the channels. Do comment and let us know your thoughts. And if there's any topics you want us to cover, then also let us know through that as well. So thank you very much, and catch you all on Tuesday.